Hello, class, and welcome to Social Justice Activism. My name is Barbara L. Jones, and I am your faculty instructor for the semester for this class. And I would like to thank you all for selecting my class to take to enhance your knowledge, to enhance your curiosity, to inspire you to participate in social justice activism and in social movements that you really are interested in pursuing and being a part of. So, what I also want to tell you is that I'm going to refer a lot to my notes for this lecture cast. And the reason why I'm going to do that because I am so passionate about my discipline, about the subject, the activism that I participate in, and I know that I will go on and on and on to where the lectures will be just entirely too long, and I don't like giving long lectures. So I'm going to be really sticking to, my notes and my script. You will have enough information in your course content modules on Canvas that you're going to really have to dig into and delve into besides me just talking and rambling on. I am not that type of professor. I want to give very specific and intentional lectures to keep you engaged, to keep you interested, and to keep you encouraged, and most of all, to keep you inspired. So I'm going to get right into this lecture. Social justice and social justice activism, along with social movements, is about affirming the protection of equal access to liberties, opportunities, as well as taking care of the most least advantaged members of society. Now, whether something is just or unjust depends a lot on whether social justice issues advances, advocates, upholds, or whether it hampers, whether it obstructs, whether it impedes, whether it causes harm to the equality of access to civil liberties and human rights for us all to have healthy and fulfilling lives. In addition, social justice and social justice activism, as it relates to social movements, whether it distributes a fair share of equitable services to, again, the least advantaged, the oppressed, and marginalized members of our society. And that's just, a few things that is limitless. Social justice activism is the promotion and the guidance and the leadership used to cultivate change and changes to influence social change. And there are many facets to social justice activism and social movements. Now, we're going to delve a lot and we're going to really dig deep in a lot of content as it relates to the responsibility of social justice activists, the goals of social justice activism, human rights, the value of humanity as it relates to social movements. I like to use the words and utilize the words, and I do use these words often. Transformative and transformational change that requires, not only does it require, it demands a lot of reimagining on many levels from all of us. Now, social justice is also concerned with the ways that resources are allocated to people by institutions, and so much more than that. Social justice activism includes racial justice, standing against racial injustice, socioeconomic issues, class, money, property, land, jobs, education, immigration, fair wages, medical care, child care, care for the elderly, food and water injustices, food insecurity, disability injustices, gender injustices, peace and security issues, safety, protection, state violence, criminal justice reform, environmental justice and injustice, climate change, LGBTQ rights, violent issues of police brutality, whether it is from law enforcement or vigilantes, housing injustice, transportation injustices. It all really culminates to how we want to live all of our lives as we go into peacemaking, peacekeeping, as well as peace building, and much, much more. So let's define what social justice activism and social movements are. Social movements can be aimed or thought as organized yet informal social entities that are engaged in extra institutional conflict that's oriented toward a goal. Now, these goals can either be aimed at specific and or narrow policies and changes. From political standpoints, it can be more broadly aimed at social and cultural change. Now, social movements and activism contain so many dynamics. Social movements, historically, social movements from the past, current and present social movements, as well as emerging and future social movements are really, really complex. Now, the theories that we are going to discuss in class, these theories have evolved, they've changed over maybe the past 30 to 40 years. And social movements, no matter what that particular social movement is, what you're going to learn in class is that they're all interconnected. A lot of social movements, from a historical standpoint, have been birthed from other social movements, and they're often created based from other social movements. Now, social movements are networks of informal influencers or informal influence between a multitude of individuals and groups, and those groups and their associations are based from social, political, and cultural conflicts, and based off of the shared collective actions, the shared collective behaviors, and the shared collective identities. And these can be very complicated theories. This can be a complicated definition, but I also want you all to understand, yes, they're complicated, they're complex, and sometimes they could conflict each other as far as a lot of the terms and theories. And you're going to see these theories demonstrated in class based off of all of the content that you are going to interface with throughout the semester. Now, social movements contain many dynamics and actions directed at improving one's own personal condition. It's directed at improving the conditions of groups, which is forms of collective action. Now, another distinction that I really, really want to make sure that you all understand is that actions that conform to the norms of existing social systems, now or in the past, not all social change is produced by social, economic, and political factors. Although social and political factors have a great deal to do with all of these injustices and conflicts that we face, you also have to take into consideration that, these things, may not evolve society as a whole. Now, change may not be valued the same way by the same people all the time or by everyone. There are existing conflicting, I would say, distinct ways where some people may perceive an injustice as not a big deal, or what's wrong with that, or it doesn't affect me. So I just wanted to make sure that I preface this, and again, we're going to see some examples throughout the semester. So what relates to a lot of these issues and grievances as being important to one may not be important to another or another group. So resistance and conflict and change, it doesn't affect all people in the same way. So blending all of these elements together, I'm just going to go ahead and give a more simplified definition of a social movement. Social movements can be defined as purposeful, organized collective behavior and actions that are formal or informal social entities that are engaged in extra institutional conflict. Now, social movements can be large groups of people, small groups of people, two people, or it can be just one person, an individual. But when groups of people are involved in forms of collective action, people are structured to promote forms of social change. Now, social movements are based on who the movement is trying to change and how much change the social movement is supporting or is supported by. Now, what a social movement is not, and I want to make this very clear to all of you, a social movement is not, and this is very important, it's not a political party. A social movement is not a political party. It's not an interest group or filled with people of political power that or who are elites. A social movement is not a trend. A social movement is not a fad, FAD. And a social movement is not a ritual either. So, based off of what I just stated, I am looking forward to reading all of your discussion posts. And remember that you have to answer all of the discussion, the discussion board forum questions. You have to answer all of those questions that I posed in the discussion forum thread. You got to answer all of them. Please don't skip over any of the questions. I need for you to answer all of those questions. And you also must respond to your fellow classmate on what they posted. And I got to make sure I reinforce this. I agree is not a post. That is not acceptable in my class. You need to go into a little bit more detail of what your classmate posted. Go into detail in your response to your fellow classmate. I want to let you know that's very important. Your grade is dependent on it, and 70% of your grade is based off of your weekly discussion posts that you answer, as well as responding to your classmate. So I can't emphasize that enough. Also, I want to state that music and art is going to be a major component that I will discuss, that I'll post a song or some music as it relates to social justice activism and social movements. Music, art, poetry, all of the creative things is a form of activism. And I want you all to, understand that, know that. I'm not sure whether I have any creative, artists in my class, but I embrace it. That is a part of our movement building, and I appreciate it. So I will talk about music and art and poetry and some things from the creative aspect as it relates to social movements. So I am looking forward to working with all of you. And just so you know, my lectures are usually no more than 20 minutes tops. And oftentimes my lectures are shorter than that. And I know you all will appreciate that. I respect your time, and I respect the time that you are going to devote to this class. Now remember, this class is asynchronous. That means that you will go on to Canvas and do everything that you have to do on your own for class. So I also do want to state that I would like to hold one synchronous class meeting for about 15 to 25 minutes. I really want to schedule that for July the 8th. I'll let you all know as far as that date is concerned. Far in enough advance, I'll send out an announcement and send you all notification of that in Canvas. And I also want to schedule virtual office hours that will be before the final exam, critical reflection, final exam essay that you all will write. So please review and watch my lectures and all of the supporting content in the course modules in class. Please review your syllabus often. That is very important. And read the course announcements thoroughly. If you have any questions, any concerns, never hesitate to reach out to me via email. I want to also add that we are in different times as it relates to what we all are going through regarding COVID and all of the injustices that we all are a part of as it relates to the current events as related to anti-Black racism, white supremacy, and everything that goes along with that. I also want you to know that I am human. I make mistakes. I don't want to be late with anything, just like I don't want you to be late with everything or anything. But if you have any issues, don't wait until the last minute to let me know. I am here to support you. Again, thank you for taking social justice activism, and I'm looking forward to the rest of the semester. Take care. Peace.